Millionaire's mother goes incognito to test future daughter-in-law, but discovers hidden betrayal. Martha Johnson's pulse quickened as she adjusted her sunglasses. A millionaire's mother disguised as a humble volunteer, this felt both foolish and exhilarating. She had to know the truth about Lily, her son's college sweetheart. With Jake poised to propose, a woman of Lily's ambitions could jeopardize everything Martha had built. Maplewood was a place where reputations thrived, behind perfectly trimmed hedges and sparkling facades. Martha, a struggling single mother turned success story, now feared a reckless choice could unravel it all. Inside the clinic, the air smelled of disinfectant and hope. Overworked nurses dashed past, their faces etched with determination. Martha glanced at the health pamphlets stacked in the waiting area. They promoted services for underserved families, a mission far removed from the status and prestige Martha guarded fiercely. She proceeded to search for Lily, clinging to her initial intent to uncover the truth. What could possibly lurk behind the bright smile that charmed her son? As she observed the staff's camaraderie, each hearty laugh and shared struggle tugged at Martha's heart. And then she saw Lily, her hands gently holding a child. There was something disarming about the way she bent, her warm smile lighting up the dim room. That image clashed harshly with the icy task at hand. What was she doing? Was she truly here as a protective mother, or was it rooted in fear? Martha's thoughts raced. Should she confront Jake with these doubts? What if Lily was genuine, a beacon of hope in a world where Martha knew well the consequences of ambition? Torn between a desire to protect her son and a yearning to embrace love's complexities, Martha felt her resolve wane with each passing moment. Anxiety gripped her as she recalled her own struggles. Hadn't she fought tirelessly for every meal scraped together? And now, she feared losing it all over something as potentially frivolous as family lineage. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With resolve, Martha stepped closer, intent on observing every interaction with the precision of a magnifying glass. However, her resolve crumbled when her ears welcomed a hushed tone that chilled her spirit. The murmurs floated in. Lily's father associated with scandal, deceit dancing in the air like smoke. It crushed Martha to think her son would become entangled with a family bred on betrayal. The image of Jake's joy shattered in her mind, replaced with despair. Would she tell him, or would she shield him from a painful truth, sacrificing their carefully curated life for love? Each revelation twisted within her, exacerbating the tension coiling around her heart. She recalled her own battles, every rejection each climb toward the top, and now stood at the edge of a new war, an emotional battlefield defined not by financial gain, but moral ambiguity. As the questions mounted, time gnawed at her resolve. Jake's proposal hung in the air, ready to unfold this weekend. She imagined the engagement ring shimmering in the sunlight, promising a future full of dreams. But darkness shadowed it, a relentless risk lurking behind it all. If Lily's past was as treacherous as hinted, how could Martha justify that pain to her son? Knots tightened in her chest, choking the breath from her lungs. The choice now felt monumental, the weight of 1,000,000 potential consequences spiraling endlessly. At the very center of this tempest, one question echoed relentlessly. What price would she pay for love, acceptance, and the chance to redefine family honor? Martha blinked hard, attempting to shake off the emotional fog that obscured her judgment. She focused intently on Lily, who seemed to shine amid the sterile surroundings of the clinic. This was a woman who worked tirelessly for a cause close to her heart. Yet could she hide darkness beneath such a benevolent light? Was her commitment to this work sincere, or merely a veneer masking a more dangerous ambition? The juxtaposition unnerved Martha. She felt torn between the admiration for Lily's evident compassion and the gnawing fear that her intentions might be deceitful. In that moment, an internal struggle thundered within her. What if she was projecting her own insecurities onto Lily? After all, she'd fought tooth and nail to build a secure life. Would her protective instincts lead her down a path of jealousy, ultimately harming her son? The clinic buzzed around her, unaware of the seething storm inside the quiet observer. She considered retreating, but something deeper pulled her back, compelling her to stay and discover more. Perhaps there was an opportunity to explore not only Lily's motivations, but her own fears too. Martha was navigating a precarious balance between past wounds and hopes for the future. A flash of memory struck her, a moment spent waving goodbye to her own mother, an encounter that left her grappling with the legacy of betrayal that shadowed her family. "What would you have done, Mom?" she murmured under her breath, wrestling with the ghost of advice never given. Vulnerability had been her family's downfall. The path of love seemed so sustainable in her mind, yet history warned her to tread carefully. Martha crouched closer as she eavesdropped on conversations. While deciphering unspoken interactions, she didn't just gauge Lily's character, but began to dissect her own biases. Perhaps her wealth had skewed her perception. Wealth often bred suspicion, and regret whispered that maybe she was acting on a foundation of doubt, rooted deeply in her past. Just as she prepared to untangle the conflicting threads of her thoughts, a shrill laugh pierced through her introspection. Jake emerged from the clinic door, his face alive with the glow of admiration as he sought Lily. The joy in his eyes plunged a dagger of doubt into her heart. Would this sweet moment soon be overshadowed by harsh truths? There it was again, the vision of the ring twinkling like a beacon of hope on a turbulent sea. Suddenly, nurtured by her concerns, thoughts of a preemptive confrontation loomed large. Where would it end? Discovery? Heartbreak? Would revealing Lily's family past lead to disillusionment for Jake? Or could it empower him instead, offering vital understanding about the complexities of family dynamics? Martha could feel the intensity of the moment in her veins as she stood rooted in place, grappling with her decision. Knowing that confrontation could ruin everything and simultaneously preserve her son's heart made it all the more daunting. Time ticked away, and she felt the weight of the impending proposal crushing her resolve. Something had to change, but what? Gazing through the clinic window, Martha spotted Lily again, now laughing with a patient's family. For the briefest moment, admiration surged, counteracting her doubts. Perhaps it was time to offer a gesture of connection rather than confrontation. If she approached Lily, could she uncover truths that would benefit them both? That thought gripped her like a vice. It was an opportunity she hadn't yet considered. The air crackled with newfound clarity, transforming her fear into determination. She felt a shift happening both for herself and her son's future. Now the chambers of her heart whispered with resolve. Martha took a deep breath, prepared to step across the threshold of doubt and into a conversation that could challenge everything. But could she face the possibility of being wrong? As her feet stirred toward that fateful interaction, one resounding truth echoed through her mind. The time had come to face the unexpected. Martha's heart raced as she crossed the threshold into the clinic lobby, each step echoing the crescendo of her internal debate. Her pulse quickened, spurred on by a fervent desire to shield Jake from potential hurt. Yet simultaneously, the notion of reaching out to Lily stirred something deeper within her. A temptation to unearth unspoken truths and perhaps recover insights about her own tangled emotions. Would confronting her fears yield clarity, or would it only entrench her anxiety? The moment was stark. She could retreat behind her carefully constructed walls, or dive headfirst into the uncertainty that had loomed before her for too long. Each breath she took mingled with the sterile scent of antiseptic, a reminder that life, while clean and orderly, often harbored its own complexities. With her mother's shadow looming in her thoughts, Martha caught a glimpse of her reflection in the glass, the woman she had become, built on years of resilience, but frail in moments of distrust and doubt. Standing before Lily, she felt every ounce of her protective instincts vying for control. What if she misread the situation? What if hidden behind the laughter was a more insidious nature? As she inhaled deeply, Surrendering to a surge of newly forged courage, she resolved to approach not just with suspicion, but with an openness that might transform the nature of their engagement. "Excuse me, Lily." The words spilled from her lips, laced with a mixture of hope and apprehension. Lily turned, her expression shifting from surprise to a warm smile that radiated kindness. "Martha, I didn't expect to see you here." The easy friendliness tugged at Martha, momentarily disarming her doubts. Here was a woman so present, so engaged with the world around her. Did that simplicity come from genuine goodness, or was it purposefully manufactured? "I know Jake admires your work," she began, trying to keep her voice steady. "But I've been contemplating the importance of family and how essential it is to fully understand the people we bring into our lives." Caught in a wave of vulnerability, she watched closely as Lily responded, her eyes reflecting curiosity rather than defensiveness. "Family is everything to me, Martha, but I believe in defining its meaning for ourselves, not letting it be dictated by our pasts," she said, her tone earnest and compelling. Martha shifted uncomfortably, her defenses quivering slightly. Here lay an opportunity to unpack her biases, but it meant wading through her own tangled feelings, her battles with vulnerability and the shadows of her past. "I come from a family with its own complexities," she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. "The idea of uncovering deeper connections is both thrilling and frightening." As they engaged in conversation, researching each other's motivations felt like peering into a mirror fogged by fear and skepticism. Each shared story unraveled threads that bound them to their respective legacies, revealing hidden similarities, yet forging a path through their contradictions. But beneath the earnestness in Lily's voice, an edge of something else lurked. Perhaps it was the flicker in her gaze when certain topics arose, or the subtle shifts in her demeanor. The more they talked, the more Martha sensed an unnameable tragedy just beyond Lily's smile, a veil hiding something critical. With every interaction, the weight of her own insecurities sharpened, igniting the need to dig deeper. What if this was the moment she had been waiting for, a chance to gain insight into not only Lily's heart, but also uncover a truth that could either shield or shatter Jake's love? The conversation twisted and turned, revealing depths and unexpected intersections, until the air pulsed with unspoken tension. Could this encounter end up revealing more than either of them anticipated? As a sense of urgency ignited within her, Martha questioned the lengths to which she was willing to go for answers. The stakes felt impossibly high, each minute threading their fates together in ways she couldn't yet comprehend. The moment steeled her resolve. With newfound courage bubbling at the surface, she prepared to ask the question that had been weighing on her heart. "Lily, I need to know, what's your family really like?" As the question hung heavily in the air, the atmosphere shifted, thick with unspoken tensions and unforeseen revelations. Would she uncover a truth that changed everything, or would it lead them both down a darker path? Lily paused, her smile faltering as she comprehended the weight behind Martha's question. For a heartbeat, silence enveloped them, rich with tension. Martha could feel her pulse quicken, each beat resounding with a mix of anticipation and trepidation. Was she prepared for whatever Lily had to reveal? "Well," Lily began slowly, her brow furrowing slightly as if gathering her thoughts in an effort to navigate uncharted waters. "My family, like many, has its share of twists and turns." Her eyes darkened for just a moment, the flicker of something almost tragic flashing across her face. "We've been through quite a lot." Martha felt her heart thud with a blend of empathy and suspicion, urging her to push for more while recognizing the vulnerability exposed before her. "What kind of things? If you're comfortable sharing." Her tentative tone was both an invitation and a challenge, beckoning Lily to take a leap of faith. Lily leaned in, her voice dropping to a whisper. "There was a time when things began to fall apart. My parents had a rough patch and it tore us apart. I was only a teenager, but I had to be the adult. I learned early on that family isn't just about blood, it's about how you stand together through the tough times." Martha absorbed the revelation. A piece of Lily's past fell into place, just as shadowy memories of her own childhood flickered through her mind. This shared struggle within a family painted a complex portrait of connections and fractures, resonating profoundly with her. Yet the instinct of caution tugged at her, reminding her of the walls she'd painstakingly erected. Did you ever feel like escaping from it all? Like breaking free from those obligations? Lily's gaze turned contemplative. All the time. But I realized that running away only creates more chaos. It's better to face things head-on, even if it hurts. That's what I learned, she replied, her voice firm. The fervor with which she spoke piqued Martha's interest. Her upcoming confrontation loomed on the horizon. That's a powerful realization, Martha said, gathering her own resolve. It's easy to retreat into a shell when things get tough, but does it always feel like the right choice? Lily met her gaze. That's the dilemma, isn't it? Whether to dive in or shield yourself. Sometimes I feel like I'm still balancing that choice, especially in new relationships. Her eyes bore into Martha, as if searching for understanding. How do I know that my own experiences won't taint new connections like with Jake? The question struck Martha like a sharp arrow, forcing her to grapple with her own insecurities. Could drawing boundaries foster closeness? Or would it only serve to keep them apart? You try to be honest, I think, but honesty can be terrifying, she admitted, a tremor of vulnerability slipping through. Suddenly, a deeper sense of urgency surged through Martha. She had to make a decision. Lily, what if those past experiences really make a difference? What if they create patterns we can't escape? Lily nodded slowly, their conversation wading deeper into sensitive waters. It's a risk we all take, Martha. But what about you? What's your family like? The question hung, heavy with expectation. Caught off guard, Martha hesitated. Each fragment of her family history whispered volumes of doubt into her consciousness. How could she reveal the dysfunction, the misunderstandings, entangled in binding loyalty? She had sought clarity in Lily, yet now faced the mirror of her emotions raw and exposed. Her internal struggle magnified, bravery challenged by self-doubt, nostalgia entwined with clarity. Could she articulate her truth without fear? I come from a complicated background, she finally said, her voice trembling. But it's always felt like navigating a minefield. Just then, the ambient noise of the clinic faded, forming a bubble around them as they each stood on the verge of something monumental. The walls they both had built started to crack, each more exposed than ever. Martha's heart pounded with realization, recognizing the threads of connection weaving through their shared narratives, but lurking beneath was an unarticulated truth that begged to be revealed, a potential spiral into deeper conflict, or perhaps an unexpected bond. As Martha wrestled with the weight of her own revelations, curiosity intertwined with apprehension. What lay beyond this conversation? Lily, there's something I have to ask. The air grew taut, the next words teetering on the brink of revelation, poised to either fortify or dismantle everything they had just built. What was she about to uncover? Martha inhaled deeply, feeling the weight of Lily's anticipation pressing against her like an unseen force. Every nerve in her body seemed to simmer with the knowledge that she stood at a crossroads. What if my past could hold secrets that might change everything, she thought, the internal dialogue intensifying. I need to know, she began, her voice steadying itself as gravity surged through her resolve. What if the very things that connect us also put us in dangerous territory? What if my experiences have shaped who I am in ways that jeopardize new relationships? Lily's expression shifted, her intrigue morphing into understanding. I think, she said slowly, that we're shaped by our pasts, not defined by them. But it takes a lot of work to untangle the two. Martha felt a flicker of hope, kindled by the idea of agency. She searched Lily's face, looking for a hint of assurance, and there it was, a thread of possibility. What if I want to redefine everything? Can I rewrite my narrative? The question slipped from her lips, fragile and tentative. The echo of her own inquiry startled her. In that moment, the prospect of confronting her familial ties and the legacy of her upbringing took on a new significance. She had spent far too long hiding from the echoes of the past, allowing them to govern her present. Could she summon the courage to redefine herself entirely? That's the challenge, isn't it? Lily replied. Facing it, confronting the hurt, and choosing to move forward differently. Sometimes it means risking everything. Her voice vibrated with authority, igniting something within Martha. It felt like she had uncovered a potent truth, and yet it remained tightly locked behind layers of fear. Martha remembered her mother's voice, echoing warnings of vulnerability. Being open is a weakness, she'd said, attempting to shield her from hurt. But perhaps it was time to dismantle that belief. Can a person ever learn to be resilient while still embracing vulnerability? Martha questioned inwardly. Maybe vulnerability was the bridge to true connection and understanding. Gathering her thoughts, Martha attempted to articulate her full experience. In my family, love was conditional, tied to performance, expectations, never unconditional. I've approached relationships as if they're a stage where I must prove myself. The confession dropped into the air, heavy with its truth. Lily frowned slightly, her empathy sharpening. That's tough. You could spend your life being what others expect, and never get to know who you truly are underneath that. In that moment, Martha teetered on the brink of realization. The recognition unfurled within her, and she felt the scabs of hurt begin to peel. I've been playing a part for so long. It's a habit now, she confessed, the words tasting raw and real. But how do I break free? Lily nodded, encouraging. How about starting with what's real for you? What do you want, Martha? Not what everyone else wants, but you. The revelation felt like ice melting under the weight of sunlight. What do I want? She pondered, as the inquiry rolled through her mind like thunderclaps. The notion entangled her. It was exhilarating, yet terrifying. The idea of standing up for herself, for her desires, without the shadow of familial expectations looming above her, opened a door she had kept shut for far too long. I want to feel safe in my own skin, she breathed, the statement unfurling like a flag planted firmly in the ground. I want to chase my dreams, not just fulfill someone else's legacy. Martha's heartbeat quickened as the resolve took root. Every challenge she faced reflected a chance for empowerment, a chance to pivot into her own future. She had already penetrated the deceptive wall of silence. Now she felt ready for more. Let's figure this out together then, Lily said, her tone inviting, a compass for Martha's uncertain navigation. The first step is recognizing that you're worthy of the life you choose. As their conversation dissolved into layers of understanding, Martha felt the stirring of something greater than mere acknowledgement. It was the surge of potential. Was she truly ready to embrace her worth? Suddenly, an unexpected thought struck her, a remnant of doubt clinging stubbornly. But what if I fail? It was a question shrouded in vulnerability, the icy grip of self-doubt stifling her newfound courage. Lily's eyes sparkled with conviction as she leaned forward. Then you learn and try again. But what if you never try? What if this is your moment? Martha nodded slowly, letting the gravity of Lily's challenge sink in. The weight of latent possibility began to unravel the tensions coiling within her. You're right, she thought, determination simmering just beneath the surface. But as the realization ignited, another thought lingered, a daunting spectre in the corners of her mind. If I embark on this journey of self-discovery, what truths might I confront that would alter the fabric of my relationships? The air pulsed with anticipation, foreshadowing the complexities that lay ahead. The commitment to change felt monumental, and Martha's heart raced, contemplating what lies in wait beyond this moment of revelation. Martha sat in the flickering candlelight of her kitchen, a sanctuary of warmth amidst the chaos of her thoughts. The shadows danced on the walls, reflecting her internal struggle as she mulled over her next steps. The decision she was about to make felt momentous, a diverging path of uncertainty before her. Her eyes drifted to the unused journals stacked on the shelf, their pristine pages beckoning her like an unanswered call. Writing had always been a refuge, an echo of raw emotion captured between the lines. It was time to reclaim that sanctum, to draft the narrative she yearned for. The urge to explore and document her emotions surged within her, every fear, every desire screaming for attention. What do I truly want to say? She pondered aloud, hoping the very act of speaking would clarify her thoughts. Armed with a pen and a blank page, she began to scrawl the words that had long remained unspoken. Each stroke of her pen felt liberating, yet every word bore the heft of her unresolved doubts. As she wrote, memories of her past enveloped her. The facade of perfection she wore, a mask meticulously crafted over the years to deflect scrutiny and potential heartbreak, suddenly felt suffocating. "Is this the real me?" she questioned, grappling with the dichotomy of her identity, the performer versus the authentic self yearning for exposure. Writing became a litmus test for her vulnerabilities, and with every word, she began to strip away the layers of the persona she had so carefully constructed. As she poured her heart into the pages, a curious clarity emerged. Gradually, distinct truths unlocked her previously paralyzed perspective. She reflected on her childhood, where acceptance hinged on achieving and exceeding expectations, an environment that had woven performance into her identity. "I've always tried to be enough for my family, enough for my friends," she admitted, the realization leaving a bitter taste in her mouth. But who decides what enough really is? The thought rippled through her like a shockwave, reverberating against the concrete realities of her life. It was time to audit her relationships, to discern which ones nurtured her growth and which merely sustained her fear. With renewed determination, she set her sights on those connections that truly resonated with her. This quest would not be easy, and yet the exhilarating prospect of shedding the burden of expectation danced just beyond her reach. An image of Lily floated into her mind, a steadfast ally who had encouraged her to confront the narratives of her life. What would happen if she shared her revelations? Would this deepen their bond or expose the fragility of her newfound truth? The weight of that uncertainty felt like an anchor, yet it was also a catalyst for her. Perhaps by allowing Lily a glimpse into her authenticity, Martha could forge something deeper, not the shallow ties formed through performance, but a connection grounded in mutual understanding and acceptance. Determined, she resolved to invite Lily into her world, thus embracing the very vulnerability she had once shunned so fiercely. "I'll reach out," she murmured to herself, the words tinged with both courage and fear. "I'll show her the real me, the me I'm beginning to understand." Sudden flares of apprehension squeezed her heart. What if this revelation shattered her neatly curated existence? But beneath that turmoil thrummed a steady rhythm of hope, the rhythm of that palpable agency she'd begun to reclaim. It was time to disrupt the status quo and face what lay beyond the barriers of her comfort. Martha leaned back, absorbing the profound shift taking root within her. She could feel the pull of purpose igniting again, a beacon charting her way forward. As she took a deep breath, ready to transform the unsettling energy of doubt into a force for growth, she picked up her phone. She hesitated, her thumb hovering over Lily's contact. But then a thought struck her, icy and precise. What if I expose too much too soon? What if I fall apart? That question loomed ominously, shrouding the horizon with clouds of uncertainty. The air thickened with the weight of anticipation as she braced herself for what could be the first step in a new chapter, one that might unfold not merely as self-discovery, but as a confrontation of the heart's deepest fears. What if, she thought, this is where the real journey begins? Martha inhaled deeply, staring at the screen illuminated by the night. Her mind waged war with itself. The dread of vulnerability loomed large, yet the image of the blank page echoed in her thoughts, taunting her with untapped potential. She knew this moment held significance, a pivot for something greater, yet the gravity of exposing her soul felt monumental. Finally, driven by a primal urge to be seen and understood, her thumb pressed the call button with a sense of finality. The phone rang, and with each passing tone, her pulse quickened, a blend of anticipation and dread swirling violently within her. When Lily finally answered, Martha's heart raced. "Hey, Martha, everything okay?" Lily's voice rang out, full of warmth and curiosity. Hey, Lily." The weight of her words mirrored the tension in her chest. "I was just thinking it might be nice to talk. In person, I mean." A note of uncertainty crept into her tone, the fear of rejection threading through her resolve. "Of course. Let's meet at Joe's later." The suggestion felt buoyant. "Yeah, Perfect. After they hung up, Martha wrestled with the reality of her decision. Each moment leading up to their meeting became saturated with doubt, yet anticipation simmered beneath the surface. What would she say? Would her truths draw Lily in or push her away? As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in strokes of purple and gold, Martha found herself at Joe's. The familiar clinking of glasses and laughter resonated around her, but she felt cocooned in her own world, her thoughts swirling like the half-empty glass of wine in her hand. Lily arrived, her expression lighting up the room as she approached. "Martha, it's been too long." She swept in for a hug, an embrace that felt grounding. Once seated, their conversation flowed easily at first, fueled by trivial details of their lives. But Martha's mind raced to find the right moment to share her journey of self-discovery. "Martha," Lily initiated, concern punctuating her voice, "you seem different today. Is everything okay?" A fissure of vulnerability cracked open within her. This was it. "I've been doing a lot of thinking about who I am and who I want to be," she began, her voice steady but wavering on the edge of emotion. "I've realized I've spent most of my life trying to meet expectations, everyone else's really, but now I want to embrace what truly matters to me." Lily nodded encouragingly, her eyes encouraging openness. "That sounds like an important step. What do you mean by what matters to you?" With a deep breath, Martha laid her fears bare, revealing her past, the facade she maintained and her longing to unveil the vulnerable self she had hidden. "I'm tired of feeling like a character in my own life, just performing for others," she admitted, the words tumbling out with urgency. "I want authenticity in my relationships, to be seen and accepted for who I really am." A moment of silence fell between them, laden with understanding. Martha held her breath, the weight of the truth suspended in the air. Lily's expression shifted thoughtfully, and for an endless moment, Martha feared that the truth could push her friend away. But then, Lily spoke, her voice gentle yet firm. "Thank you for trusting me with that. I want you to know that you're enough just as you are." The warmth of her words washed over Martha, igniting a glimmer of hope. Yet beneath that relief lingered an unsettling residue of fear. What if Lily's acceptance hinged upon an unspoken condition? Martha pondered the ramifications. What of their previous superficial connections, and would this newfound honesty force a reckoning of their friendship? As they continued to talk, Martha's resolve crystallized. This was just the beginning. She could transform these moments of authenticity into building blocks for a richer, deeper existence. Lily's presence felt like a catalyst igniting something within her. But as the evening wore on, her euphoric realization was pierced by a strange shadow of suspicion. What had she not questioned about her relationships, including with Lily? She sensed a deeper layer in their dynamic waiting to be uncovered. Driven by this new urgency, Martha prepared herself for a forthcoming revelation, aware that this journey was far from over. A new thought brewed in the corners of her mind. What if confronting her own past meant unraveling secrets that could shake the foundation of her relationships? Suddenly the thought gripped her, nipping at her resolve, as she realized that self-discovery could lead to unforeseen truths. The easy embrace could shift to something more complicated. What if the connections she longed for invited chaos alongside clarity? With a sense of foreboding laced with determination, Martha allowed the conversation to flow, conscious of the transformations brewing silently beneath the surface. As their laughter filled the air, she sensed the breadth of her journey extending further than she had anticipated. What lay hidden, yet unsaid, could alter everything. As the laughter echoed around them, a ripple of anxiety coursed through Martha. The warmth from Lily's words still enveloped her, but self-doubt loomed just beneath the surface, threatening to unravel her newfound honesty. Each sip of wine introduced a twinge of clarity, but it also stirred her fears. Had she truly taken a step toward authenticity, or merely opened Pandora's box? "Have you ever felt like there's more to someone than what they show?" she asked, surprising even herself. The question lingered between them, ripe with possibility. Was it systemic of her own revelations, or a genuine inquiry into Lily's life? Lily tilted her head, brow furrowed thoughtfully. "Absolutely. People hide their true selves for so many reasons. Heck, even I've spent years guarding my own, Martha interjected, a nervous chuckle punctuating her admission. But I want to understand more about those layers, what lies beneath the smiles and shared laughter. Then let's uncover those layers together, Lily offered, her voice resolute yet playful. What's stopping us? A daunting thought struck Martha. Did she truly want to peel away the layers? Was she ready for the potential fallout? The abrupt shift in her emotional landscape jolted her. She realized that their friendship itself had become a reflection of her internal struggles. There was something binding them, a thread woven through their ups and downs, yet it had remained untouched by their vulnerability. All right then, Martha declared, her voice firmed by resolve. I need to be honest about something important. Well, about someone. Lily's eyes widened in curiosity as she leaned in. Who? Connor. The name fell from her lips as if it contained an anchor to her conflicting emotions. He's my boss, but... Martha hesitated, grappling with the weight of her words. He also represents everything I've been trying to escape. He's so focused on expectations, on what people want from him, that I fear I've internalized that. Lily leaned in further, absorbing the depth of Martha's confession. What do you mean by that? Martha inhaled deeply, struggling against the tears that threatened to spill forth. I mean that I let him mold my perception of success. Every time I stray from that path, I feel the shame creeping in. I've encouraged so many people around me to prioritize authenticity, yet you've left yourself behind, Lily finished for her, a knowing sympathy hanging in the air. It's hard to embrace that when you're still tied to an image you feel pressured to maintain. Yes, Martha nearly shouted, the adrenaline of acknowledgement flooding her. I've been chasing what he and everyone else wants instead of what truly aligns with me. I thought I could transform through my relationships, but what if my ties to him are more than professional? What if it holds me back? Lily paused, the question weighing heavily on them. You can break free from that, you know. But doubts gnawed at her. Can I? What if this unraveling exposes faults I've buried deeply? What if Connor's reaction is a reflection of my own inadequacies? Suddenly a realization hit Martha with startling clarity. Connor's shadow loomed large in her life. Their dynamic had been opaque, but she was beginning to glimpse the fog. The idea that her self-worth had been tied to pleasing others, particularly through him, felt like a dagger. Was it mastery, or was she merely a pawn in a game she never agreed to play? Talking about him makes me feel like I'm unearthing a field of landmines, she confessed, her voice trembling. I'm terrified of what it'll reveal. That could be the journey worth taking, Lily said softly. Change is scary, but it can also be liberating. It seems you're already moving toward that potential. As Martha wrestled with this budding awareness, she felt her heartbeat quickening. What if confronting Connor became the catalyst for her transformation? What if, through this confrontation, she untangled her dependency on others' expectations? A silence enveloped them, pregnant with possibility and apprehension. Martha glanced around the room, catching fleeting images of faces intertwined in their carefree existences, unaware of her inner turmoil. Perhaps it's time to reveal all sides of who I truly am, she murmured to herself, even if the fear of losing everything hangs heavy in the air. With newfound resolve spiraling within her, she turned to Lily with a flicker of excitement mingled with dread. I think I'm ready to take the first step. No more blurred lines, no more performing, just clarity. Little did she know that this decision would lead not to the liberation she sought, but to an unraveling thread in her life that could change everything. What will you say to him? Lily inquired, her brow arched with curiosity. The question hung heavily in the air, pregnant with potential. Martha realized the next encounter could ignite an unexpected reckoning, one that reshaped her relationships profoundly. Unbeknownst to her, she began to weave a tapestry of transformations and unforeseen truths, all bound by the fragile thread of self-acceptance. The taste of uncertainty lingered in her mind as she contemplated the weight of her next move. A flickering flame of determination mingling with doubt. Would she hold her ground, or would she be swept away in a tidal wave of revelation? Martha sat in the dim light of her living room, the shadows of evening wrapping around her, The words she'd shared with Lily echoed in her mind, and each replay felt like a wave crashing against her. She knew confronting Connor was no trivial matter. He'd been her compass for too long, guiding her actions, shaping her ambitions. The prospect of tomorrow morning's meeting with him filled her with a blend of dread and anticipation. Her fingers traced the rim of her glass absent-mindedly, mirroring her swirling thoughts. What exactly would she say? The thought of revealing her internal struggle felt like an exposure she wasn't sure would be met with understanding. Would he welcome her honesty or expose her vulnerabilities as weaknesses? What if their professional relationship fragmented under the weight of personal revelations? The very foundation of her career felt precarious in that moment, a reminder that she had crafted her identity around his expectations. But wasn't that a hollow structure? As night settled in, Martha grabbed her notebook, a trusted companion that had collected her thoughts and aspirations. She opened to a blank page, ready to draft a plan of sorts, and started listing her feelings about Connor. The ink flowed as if it were unearthing a hidden truth, a vision of what she wanted to articulate. Pressure to conform, she wrote. Fear of disappointment, joining a list punctuated by urgency. Each item seemed to reveal another thread binding her to a past she'd subconsciously been resisting. This reflection was both painful and liberating. She had spent so much time navigating Connor's expectations that she'd inadvertently shrouded her own identity in silence. No more, she vowed. She paused then, staring at the list, realizing that each point needed to transition from mere words into a conversation. Fear fluttered like wings in her chest as she contemplated breaking the news. I won't betray myself anymore. She sighed deeply, acknowledging the paradox she faced. Breaking free also meant facing the remnants of past choices with clarity, and that could bring repercussions she hadn't fully counted on. Martha's phone buzzed across the table. It was a message from Lily. You got this, remember, raw honesty is your power. The supportive note bolstered her confidence, reminding her that at the core of this turmoil was an opportunity for authenticity. Tensions rose within her. Could she transform this meeting into a turning point? She recognized that the crux of her struggle lay not merely in Connor's expectations, but in her own need for validation. If she could craft her narrative, could it reshape the dynamics of her professional world? The longer she sat, the less certainty she felt about the potential outcomes of her actions. Perhaps the journey would be littered with unanticipated conflicts, confrontations not only with Connor, but within herself. What if everything she had constructed cracked under the pressure? But the thought of remaining locked in a cycle of expectations felt even more unbearable. That notion fueled an ember of defiance inside her. Maybe, she mused, this moment could carve out a space for her true aspirations and desires, allowing her to redefine the parameters of success on her own terms. As the night deepened, she felt a wave of resolve wash over. Tomorrow wasn't just a meeting. It was a reckoning, a chance to reclaim her narrative and begin strategies for untangling the old threads that tied her to self-doubt. With her notebook open, she began to jot down a few key phrases. I need to discuss our expectations. I value direct communication. My definition of success needs updating. Each sentence felt like a step into the light, illuminating the path forward, yet each also bore the weight of potential fallout. Would it be enough? The thought gripped her, mingling worry with determination. The flickering flame of doubt still lingered, demanding to be acknowledged, even as excitement simmered beneath the surface. Martha's heart raced at the thought of taking this leap. Tomorrow would be the day she laid everything on the table, unveiling her truth. With every word she prepared, she could feel the maze of her emotions shifting, slowly forming a newfound clarity. And as the tension in her chest mounted, she knew this was just the beginning. What lingering complications awaited her beyond that door? Would Connor respond with mentorship, or would he challenge her newfound courage? Clarity was coming, but at what cost? With that question circling her mind, she closed her notebook and prepared for the confrontation that would change everything. Martha stood before the glass doors leading to her office, her heart thundering in her chest as she rehearsed the words that had taken root in her mind. Today was not just another day at work. Today marked a significant turning point, a moment she had fought to forge for herself. She recalled the conversation with Lily, how their mutual sharing had unlocked doors she believed were permanently closed. Those exchanges surged in her mind now, fortifying her resolve. The notion felt liberating, yet the weightiness of uncertainty wrapped itself around her shoulders like an unwanted cloak. As she stepped inside, a familiar office buzzed around her, fingers typing, phones ringing, the hum of ongoing projects filling the air. She spotted Connor just as he emerged from his office, a sight she had previously welcomed with enthusiasm, yet today it triggered conflicting emotions. This was her moment to rewrite the narrative, and she would seize it. "Martha, good morning," Connor greeted, the usual warmth in his voice, somehow feeling distant today. "Morning, Connor." She took a deep breath, centering herself as she approached him with purpose. "I'd like to talk about our dynamic, if you have a moment." His eyebrows rose, surprise crossing his features. "Sure, let's chat." As they entered the conference room, the air felt charged with possibility. These walls, often filled with brainstorming and camaraderie, felt different today, not like a space of tension, but a canvas on which she could begin to paint the future she envisioned. "Thanks for making time," Martha said, forcing a calm into her voice. "I've been doing some thinking about how I fit into this team and what success looks like for me." The flicker of concern in Connor's eyes urged her on. "I realize that for a long time, I've equated my worth with meeting expectations that might not genuinely reflect my values or aspirations. And that's something I want to change." Connor leaned back, a thoughtful expression crossing his face. "Go on," he coaxed, his tone blending patience with genuine curiosity. Martha pressed forward. "I've spent years molding myself into what I perceived you needed or expected from me. But that cycle has prevented me from embracing my authentic self. I want our work to feel balanced and meaningful, not dictated by a hierarchy of expectations." She observed the wheels turning in Connor's mind, the pulse of uncertainty vibrating in the air. Would this be the moment he would break her confining molds, or would he resist? "What brought on this realization?" he asked after a moment, his voice calm yet probing. Transformative glimpses of her past flooded into her mind, the struggles, the constant need to perform, and her heartfelt conversation with Lily. "It's been a journey. I think part of it has been the conversations I've had recently with friends who encourage me to step into my truth rather than hide behind a mask." "You're saying that I've contributed to this cycle?" Connor asked, his brow furrowing in concern. "I never intended to make you feel that way." "I know," Martha replied, her tone softening. "But the truth is, my own fears made me vulnerable to feeling inadequate. I believed conforming would secure my place here, but it has only led me to questions about my identity. I want to take ownership of my role, to bring my ideas and values to the forefront without doubt." She allowed silence to fill the space, and the weight of her words hung in the air. The moment felt monumental, each second stretching as she gauged Connor's reaction, her heart racing at the potential ramifications. To her relief, Connor nodded slowly, the tension in his stance seeming to dissipate. "I appreciate your honesty, Martha. It takes guts to admit that. Let's be clear. I value what you bring to this team, but it's crucial that you feel you can express yourself freely. We should work together toward that." The swell of relief rushed over her like fresh air filling her lungs. This was acceptance, not only of her truths, but also her newfound stance for authenticity. "Thank you, Connor. I want to set clearer expectations going forward, to ensure we're encouraging a collaborative environment focused on innovation rather than pressure." Connor met her gaze, his expression shifting to one of admiration. "I support that wholeheartedly. Let's discuss how we can create a structure that empowers everyone on this team, including you." Martha couldn't suppress the smile breaking on her face. She had taken the leap, faced the unknown, and discovered not just her voice but also the potential for an enlightened partnership. The fear of vulnerability had birthed strength, transforming how she viewed this pivotal relationship. As they rehashed ideas surrounding team dynamics, Martha's sense of purpose solidified. The external validation from Connor echoed less urgently than before. The true triumph weighed down to the heart of her own self-acceptance. She had stepped into her authenticity, reclaiming ownership over her identity. When the meeting ended, Martha walked back to her desk feeling lighter, empowered by both her courage and the recognition that emerged. The dynamics had shifted fundamentally, not just with Connor, but with herself. Now she envisioned not only career aspirations, but also the thrill of self-discovery. The courage to redefine success had been ignited, and the navigating towards genuine partnerships guided her. In the weeks that followed, the change rippled through her work life. Colleagues began to notice her unwavering confidence, and the collaborative environment buzzed with renewed energy. She initiated weekly brainstorming sessions, collaborating freely with her team, and the creativity that flowed was palpable. It marked a remarkable departure from previous years shrouded in pressure. Martha had conquered the invisible chains of expectation, embraced vulnerability, and translated it into authenticity. The journey was far from over, but she felt fortified by the personal growth she had achieved. Finally, she held the reins to her destiny, ready to continue crafting the narrative that would reflect her true essence. This journey of self-acceptance had blossomed into a garden of opportunities where roots of trust would take hold and flourish. As she settled down to reflect one evening, a surge of triumph filled her. Transformative growth wasn't just a future requirement, it was her new reality, her commitment to pursuing an abundant life, centered in values authentically expressed, everywhere she wandered. This was an achievement worth celebrating, a narrative she had rewritten and embraced with a vengeance. And with that satisfaction, she reached for her phone, feeling inspired. I need to share this journey, she thought, recognizing that her story might encourage others to embark on their own paths of authenticity. It was time to document her transformation, and there was no hesitation left in her heart. The writing flowed from her fingers with ease, each stroke painting a vivid picture of what it meant to claim true self-worth. For those who connect with messages of resilience and bravery, it was time to act on supporting the community that fosters such transformations. So, if you resonate with the achievements within this journey, don't hesitate. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. So don't wait even one more second.